Some people get a lovely surprise when they find out they are entitled to more pay or leave than they expected. Others end up shocked by the smaller payslip because they missed a key step in the process. In this video, I will share real-life examples, of course with names changed, so you can avoid mistakes and make the most of your family leave in the UK. We will cover maternity leave, paternity leave, shared parental leave, and unpaid parental leave. I will explain what each one means, who can get it, how much is paid, and where people often go wrong. So first, maternity leave is the time off per birth mothers before and after the baby is born. The legal minimum or statutory maternity leave is up to 52 weeks, 26 weeks of ordinary maternity leave, 26 of additional maternity leave. The current statutory maternity leave in 2025 is first 6 weeks, 90% of your average weekly earnings before tax. Next 33 weeks, £187.18 a week, or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. The rest of the leave is unpaid. Some companies offer enhanced maternity pay, more than the legal minimum. Here's an important rule. If you're off sick for a pregnancy-related reason in the last 4 weeks before your due date, your maternity leave and pay start automatically. This includes if you thought you were on sick leave. You don't get to choose. So let me use Sophie's example. So Sophie planned to work until week 38 of her pregnancy, then take 2 weeks of annual leave, then start maternity leave. But at week 36, she was signed off with the constant dizziness and swelling in her hands and feet. She thought she'd get 2 weeks of statutory sick pay. Instead, because the sick leave was pregnancy-related, and in the last 4 weeks before her due date, so her maternity leave started straight away. Luckily, her company's enhanced maternity leave kicked in, so she actually got more than she expected. Okay, we've now covered maternity leave, what it is, how much you get, and one rule that catches people by surprise. Next, let's talk about paternity leave, and this one is not just for dads. So paternity leave is for someone who is not the birth mother, but still has a close parental role. You can take 1 or 2 weeks. If you take 2 weeks, then you can take them together or separately. Statutory paternity pay is £187.18 a week, or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. So you must be taking time off to look after the child and be one of the father, the husband, or a partner of the mother or adopter. This includes same-sex partners, the child's adopter, and intended parent through surrogacy. Your leave must finish within 52 weeks of the birth or due date if earlier. You need to give notice, normally by the 15th week before the child is due. And if you change your start date, give at least 28 days notice. Let's use the example of Mark's story. So Mark's baby was born in August. He knew he could take 2 weeks of paternity leave, so he planned 1 week right after the birth and another week later to help at home. But he didn't remember from induction that he needed to give 28 days of notice for changes. He tried to book his second week and short notice. However, payroll couldn't process in time, so he had 2 choices: unpaid leave or use his annual leave. He chose to use annual leave so that his pay didn't drop. So far, we've talked about maternity leave and paternity leave, 2 of most common types. Next, let's see how families can share leave differently. Shared parental leave lets eligible parents share up to 50 weeks of leave and up to 37 weeks of pay. Let me explain. It applies if you are having a baby, using a surrogate to have a baby, adopting a child, fostering a child you plan to adopt. So statutory shared parental pay is £187.18 a week, or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. To use SPL, the mother or primary adopter must end their maternity or adoption leave early. This is called a curtailment notice. So let me give you an example about Amy and Ben's story. So Amy wanted to go back to work 20 weeks after the birth, so she gave her curtailment notice. Ben then took 12 weeks of SPL to care for their baby. Because Amy gave proper notice and their HR team planned the handover, their pay and leave ran smoothly. Now I know you might be wondering, do both parents need to work for the same company to get shared parental leave? The answer is no. Each parent applies to their own employer. Another common question is, how does my employer know if my partner is also taking leave? The system relies on legal declarations. Each parent gives their employer a side declaration from the other parent, confirming eligibility and how much leave they will take. And finally, do I need to tell my partner's company myself? No, you only deal with your employer. Your partner deals with theirs. The side declarations link it all together. Now we've covered 3 types of paid family leave: maternity leave, paternity leave, and shared parental leave. Now let's look at unpaid parental leave, which still has value if you plan well. Unpaid parental leave is time off to look after your child's welfare. It's separate from other types of leave. It's up to 18 weeks per child until they turn 18. You can take a maximum of 4 weeks per year for each child. It must be taken in whole weeks unless your employer agrees or child is disabled. You must give at least 21 days of notice. This leave is unpaid unless your company offers an enhanced version. Okay, let's use Daniel's story to explain this. Daniel's son was about to start school, so the family planned a 3-week trip to visit grandparents abroad. And he assumed it would be covered as paid parental leave. But in the UK, statutory parental leave is unpaid unless your company offers extra pay. So he decided to use holiday so his pay stayed the same. If your child is disabled, the rules are more flexible. You can take parental leave in single days, or your employer may approve different patterns to help with the care needs. Okay, right. Let's do a quick recap so you can see everything side by side. Maternity leave, you can take up to 52 weeks. For pay, you will get the first 6 weeks at 90% of your average weekly earnings, then up to 33 weeks at either £187.18 a week or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. Remember, if you have a pregnancy-related illness in the last 4 weeks before your due date, your maternity leave starts automatically. Paternity leave, you can take either 1 or 2 weeks, together or separately. Pay is the same rate, £187.18 a week or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. You must take it within 52 weeks of the birth. This includes fathers, same-sex partners, adopters, and intended parents through surrogacy. Shared parental leave. You and your partner can share up to 50 weeks of leave. Pay is the same as the statutory rates, but you can only take this if a mother or adopter ends their maternity or adoption leave early by giving a curtailment notice. Parental leave. This one is unpaid. You can take up to 18 weeks of each child before they turn 18, but no more than 4 weeks per year for each child. You need to give 21 days notice. If your child is disabled, then you can take the leave in single days and have more flexibility. That's the big picture, the rules, the time, and the pay all in one place. So we've covered 4 types of family leave, the key rules, and some real-life examples to help you avoid surprises. Remember, statutory leave is the legal minimum, but many companies offer enhanced packages. So always check your handbook and HR policies. There's also adoption leave, which is very similar to maternity leave. We will talk about that in another video. This week, I've been learning some animation tools so I can explain HR terms in a way that's more fun and less complicated. I've used some of these animations in this video. Let me know if they helped make things clearer. Thank you for watching. See you next time.